Can you hear the angels singing in the waterfalls?
Join me, who shall come and join me among the fate who dance, dancing around, all around, in the fairy ring, sing under tree, under tree.
Good morning, welcome to Lost for Words, where we explore great women poets. I'm Sarah Woods, and today we're exploring the poetry of Sherry Lazarus Ross in her fantastic book of poetry, Seeds of the Pomegranate. This book is, it feels like just like a piece of magic. It is sort of like wrapped in this bubble of mythology with the story of Persephone, daughter of Zeus, the daughter of Demeter, and she doesn't know it, but her father had promised her to Hades. So one day while she was picking flowers, I believe by a little river, Hades comes and he snatches her and takes her to the underworld. And her mother is heartbroken and eventually goes to rescue her. And when she gets to her, discovers that Persephone has eaten 6 of the pomegranate seeds. And because she ate those 6 pomegranate seeds, Hades says that she has to stay in the underworld because once you eat the food of the dead, you can't leave. But he strikes a deal with Demeter, Persephone's mother, and says, since she only had 6 seeds, for 6 months of every year, she's going to stay in the underworld. And the other 6 months, she can go to be with you. And in this moment, the seasons are born because of the grief and the sadness of Persephone leaving for those 6 months. That is when fall and winter happen on the earth. And then when she returns to her mother for those other 6 months, that is when spring and summer happen. Like the earth opens up and rejoices because they're back together. So the beginning of this book has a poem that is it's called Persephone, and it's her talking to her mother. And then the end of the book has a poem that is called Demeter. It is Demeter, the mother, talking to her daughter, Persephone. And so you have those bookends of, all these poems that are sort of squeezed in between this conversation of Persephone and her mother. And inside all of these poems that she's written, there's this theme of nature and winter, spring, summer, the themes of being frozen, the themes of thawing, there's the themes of grief, the themes of things coming to life. So there's very much, she's taken the mythology of that story, the magic of that story, and she's sort of infused it into all these poems, these moments and these seasons with a sort of magic and a sort of miraculousness and mystery that is really fun. She takes it beyond just a part of nature to you can sort of feel the mythology underneath the layer of all these poems. Today we're going to explore one of her poems that explores a side of winter and sort of skates in between things freezing and hardening with the expectation of spring in its mind. So you have this underneath layer of Persephone is in Hades, she's with Hades at this time, and she's in the underworld and she's away from her mother, is this layer that's underneath this poem, and that hope of return to her mother is underneath this poem. This poem is called Winter Angel, and it's on page 19, and I will go ahead and read it to you now. Each hour the waterfall grows more solid, liquid turned luminous ice. Thickened sides fold inward around the moving force, gigantic crystal wings. Inside the frozen center, The water's soul still pours and sings, winter angel waiting to release. So this is like a really, short little poem, but in like this really, small space, she conjures up, I'm going to put this down. She conjures up this image for us that is very like vivid and very beautiful and powerful. Like you can see it and you can feel the coldness all at the same time. So she starts it off and she says, each hour the waterfall grows more solid, liquid turned to luminous ice. So like you immediately get this like vision of a waterfall. Sorry. So you immediately get this vision of a waterfall, and you can like imagine, the water pouring over the edge, and it's just gushing. And as winter comes in, as the leaves fall and things start to get colder, you can see the water start to freeze. And it's on the outside, it's freezing first. It says, thickened sides fold inward around the moving force, gigantic crystal wings. I love that image of a waterfall freezing from the outside in. And as it freezes, you can like imagine the ice forming these like gigantic angel wings. Thickened sides fold around the moving force, gigantic crystal wings. I feel like that's a very powerful image, imagining something freezing from the outside into these angel wings, but still on the inside of it, there's still this powerful moving waterfall that hasn't completely frozen, which to me is kind of a really beautiful image. And you can see the ice and like the light hitting it from different angles, and how she said how luminous it is. It just seems really beautiful. Like I'm like, I wish I could actually watch this happen. Like it sounds really beautiful. And then it says, inside the frozen center, the water's soul still pours and sings. So to me, that is a really beautiful image. For me, it takes it not just, wait, my dog is snoring, sorry. It takes it from being not just water to having a soul. And so for me, this makes me suddenly imagine a human being like intermixed with this waterfall. So inside the frozen center, the water's soul still pours and sings. So you can imagine, I really like imagining this waterfall freezing and these angel wings, and inside the water is still moving even though you can't quite see it. And the idea that it's singing, I like the idea of angels singing anyway, but the idea that it's a frozen angel, that you can't see the song on the outside, but on the inside it is still singing and pouring and singing. And it said that its soul still pours and sings. So like this frozen waterfall, this ice, with these angels' wings, this water is not just water. And it's not just the sound of water. Like it's the soul of an angel, and it is like singing on the inside. I don't know, I just really like that. It says, inside the frozen center, the water's soul still pours and sings, winter angel waiting to release. And I really, really like the last line. I really like all the lines, but I really like the last line because it, so as you're reading this poem, you're watching it freeze. And so you're getting the sense that Persephone has left her mother. Persephone has returned to the underworld because she ate those 6 pomegranates. So everything, or 6 pomegranate seeds. So everything is freezing. and you can feel like, you know, her mother is sad because she's gone. And then, but still, even though everything is turning cold, everything is freezing, it's still like utterly beautiful, like this water freezing into this these angels' wings. And even though everything is freezing, there's still this inner soul that is singing and singing, pouring and singing. And it says, winter angel waiting to release. That line makes me think of that even though Persephone is in the underworld, that she is still dreaming of spring. She's still dreaming of her time with her mother, and she knows it's coming. And so it's just like this soul that's pouring and singing, and it'll keep pouring and singing until spring comes, until that 6 months is up, and she can, and that thaw starts to happen. And you can just almost imagine this like trickle, and then this like explosion of song, this explosion of water, this like this prison of ice that has contained this song, this soul, this pouring of life, this thing that's contained it is going to break, and there's going to be like this freedom, this release, this sort of like, it almost to me has a feeling of like ecstasy. I don't know, there's something about this poem that reminds me of an orgasm. It's probably too much information, but it's like that like tension and like that building up of like feeling and like pressure, and then it says that winter angel waiting to release. To me, that reminds me of like that feeling at the end where you're like, ah. So there's something very sensual about this poem, which I think is, I feel like that's one of the reasons I really like her poetry, because I feel like she has this ability to take feelings that are very sensual, in like the feeling of, what is it, like a feeling of anticipation, a feeling of release, a feeling of ecstasy. And she has an ability to take those feelings and sort of like breathe them into her poems about nature. And I just find that, I mean, to me, that is just, I don't know if there's like much better than that to me. Like, I just love it. But anyway, that is all for that poem. We will stop there. Yeah, so thank you for joining me as we explored this beautiful waterfall, this winter angel. I feel like now it's like in my brain, like one day I want to see a frozen waterfall, like, and read this poem while I look at it. Or maybe I'll just memorize it and then I can just say it out loud. Like, I don't think I will ever be able to see another frozen waterfall without thinking of this poem. I wanted to thank you, the Dark-Eyed Musician, for allowing me to use your music in the intro for these poetry explorations of Sherry's music, of Sherry's poetry. I feel like your music has such a cool fantasy sort of feel to it, and I feel like it matches perfectly with Sherry's poetry. You can find both of these ladies, Sherry on Instagram. She is at the Vine Trope Adventures, and you can find the Dark-Eyed Musician on Instagram at the Dark-Eyed Musician. Anyways, thank you guys. Have a great week.